Damn it, where is he? Maxim began to think when Roman disappeared from sight, who had not noticed how he had fallen behind him. Max did not stop, he continued running, regardless of his leg, which was aching with pain. It was dark as a poke in the eye, so the runner constantly stumbled over branches, and constantly bumped into bushes and tree branches. This did not make him feel good. When he began to get tired, the running gradually turned into a quick step, and after the traveler was completely exhausted, he began to trudge slowly like a turtle. In the distance he heard the disgusting laughter of these small freaks, which he remembered for a long time, and sometimes laughed ominously old women. Witches, man. Annoyingly, stopping, Maxim said. After standing still for a while, he took his time and sat down on a log, which he could somehow make out in the pitch darkness beside him. He did not know how long he had sat in the darkness, maybe an hour, maybe 2. Gradually the darkness began to give way to the moonlight, and Maxim saw that he was in the middle of the path, across which lay the same log on which he had seated himself, and in front, about 50 meters away, stood a human silhouette, his back to him. Maxim became alert and, slowly standing up, trying not to make any noise, began to back away, fearing that the person in front might see him. After he stepped over the log and took 3 steps back, the silhouette abruptly turned its head 180 degrees and stared at Max, who consequently fell into a stupor of fear, frozen in place like a dead man, staring into the bright green eyes of an incomprehensible creature. The creature grinned, grinning its white shark teeth, and began slowly turning its body in the direction its head had turned. At the sight of it, Maxim's heart began to beat so violently that it felt as if it would burst through his chest. Without thinking twice, he turned and ran, and the creature rushed after him. As he fled, Max heard the creature catch up with him, heard it laughing and growling like a beast. During the brief pursuit, Max saw out of the corner of his eye how the pursuer extended its claws like a predator, ducked a little closer to the ground, preparing to leap. The runaway understood the pursuer's intentions and decided to make a maneuver. As soon as the predator kicked off the ground, taking off from it literally a couple of centimeters, Maxim sharply rolled to the right, and the creature flew by inertia straight for 5 meters and landed not very well, rolling backwards as much again, and our strategist ran deep into the woods, turning off the trail, then ran behind some twin trees, grabbed the first thick stick in his hands, and sat down, lurking, waiting for this monster, hoping to ambush him. Does he want to fight? I'll show him where the crayfish is. Max thought, but the thing had already figured out which way he ran and followed him. She's coming, bitch. Max muttered when he heard the footsteps. The creature approached and was quite close and, without noticing the ambush, walked past the tree where Maxim was sitting, who very slowly stood up, put the stick behind his back, as if to make a swing for a blow, cocked the trigger so to speak, being behind the persecutor's back. The bounty hunter stopped, smelling something wrong, and began sniffing like a dog, sniffing his nose, letting the air through his nostrils as if through filters, sorting out the smells to determine the presence of a man. Then, when he smelled Max, he stopped abruptly, stopped all these actions, and began to listen, while turning his head in the direction where his victim was standing. As soon as Maxim was in sight, there was a rumble, followed by a ringing crack of wood. Max pulled the trigger, well hitting the monster with a stick, like a baseball bat, on the head like a ball. The creature crumpled like a wet rag, crawled to the ground, clutching its head, and Maxim struck the monster's back with a full swing, fired a test shot, threw the stick and ran. He didn't have to run for long. Before his eyes was a small clearing, illuminated by moonlight. At the end of it was a hill, in which the outline of a house was visible. A dugout, Max thought. Running up to it, he jerked the door. Shit, it's locked. Turning around in the direction from which he had come, he saw a silhouette walk into the moonlight. Gotcha, Maxim said in an ear. He was tired of fleeing, so he stared at the creature and prepared for the worst.